Howdy, folks. Welcome to Home Roots Online. I'm very excited to be here in the first of our series of discussions with upcoming artists on our new ticketed shows. I'm joined today by Lindsey of Wavelength Media and also our first featured artist, James Keelaghan, one of Canada's most respected songwriters. How's it going, everybody?
Excellent.
Very well in
Well,
Ottawa.
Well, it's wonderful to have both of you here today for this occasion. And I'd just like to mention really quickly what's happening is that Home Roots Chemin Chez Nous is presenting Home Roots Online, and James Keelaghan is our very first act, and he's going to be playing shows at 2 p.m. Central Time on October 6th, which is 8 o'clock in the UK, which is who that show is aimed to, and also 9 p.m. on the European continent, and then later on that evening at 7 p.m. Central for a show for North America. And then you're going to do something that I don't know, most artists that I know wouldn't sign up to do. You're going to get up really early to do a show for Australia. So it's 6 a.m. In Manitoba or 9 p.m. in Central Australian time. So are you crazy or something to just join us like this?
It's just like life on the road. You know,
Right?
when we were talking about the timing of it, it was like, oh yeah, it's just like playing a couple of gigs at a festival, and then you have to get up for the 6 a.m. flight to.
That's right. I guess that beats going across the ocean.
The real question is, are we gonna sleep, or are we just gonna play our way through?
We could just keep the Zoom meeting going until
We could have just
until the next one.
things will go dark. Occasionally, somebody will go in there for a cup of tea and come out, answer questions. We can talk about math or something.
See who hangs in there with us. Well, we're gonna have should have cast a pretty wide net. I just like to mention that we're doing these shows in collaboration with the Calgary Folk Club, and I know both of us have a long history with that organization as well.
Totally, that's one of my home clubs. Actually, the Calgary Folk Club was sort of the one you worked your way up to. Like you played the Nickelodeon Saturday Night Special, Calgary Folk Club. And I felt like I'd arrived at each one of them, but once you got your own night at the Calgary Folk Club, that meant that you were, I don't know what
Happening.
you were.
Well, as a new arts administrator, that's sort of how I felt too when Sue's reached out to want to collaborate with us. I
Yeah,
thought, okay, we must be onto something here because Sue's Casey
yeah.
wants to work with us, and that's very exciting for us. Um, so how's it been going anyway in the last few months?
It's just so freaking weird. It's just weird. That's all there is to it. And like the really the funniest thing for me is that how I can be so busy, because it seems like I'm busy all the time, but you turn around, you go like the day's over, and I've done this, this, and this, and you still feel like you've done nothing, no matter how busy you've been, because you haven't gone anywhere. Like, to me, busy always involved getting on a plane or a train or a bus or a car or something. There was some mode of transportation that sort of signaled that you were going to be busy. So this is all uh, just very different, but it's also cool. I have the boys half time, and so it's meant that I can really, really sort of hang out with the boys a lot. And then they go back to their mums, and it's like I'm a Trappist monk again.
That's
And
true. That's a lot. That's an everlasting struggle with touring musicians
yeah,
and balancing that and being on the road and family. So
yeah,
it's true that I suppose this does present a different opportunity in that way.
totally. And now, especially since stuff is so topsy turvy with schooling and whatnot, uh, it's just really good that I'm here, because one of my kids is doing synchronous learning, and one of my kids is going back to high school and doing a half synchronous and everything else. So the kids are here and they're involved in their education, which means that you're involved in your education. It means like you've got freaking, you find yourself picking up like that from Walmart. because you got to catch up with your kid in math.
That's funny.
I'm not going to say how old I am, but I'm too old to be doing math. Like
Well,
I really am.
I that was an area with which I struggled, but going on the road later on, I was forced to learn. Sort of like right now, I never fancied such an interview ever taking place a year ago, and now here we are. We're the whole scene is adjusting, and we're all
Yeah,
kind of you know figuring out new ways of collaborating,
yeah,
which
and
is
it's going to be what it's going to be what it is, and you try and turn it into, you know, you ultimately hope to try and turn it into art or to turn it into ideas for art or something like that. But it also means that they really had some stuff that they felt that I had to catch up on. Like so they had to run me through the whole of Avatar,
yeah.
right, and the whole of Stranger Things, and like, oh, it's like, Dad, it's time for review, and they'll, it's great.
That's amazing. Well, a lot of most of the folks watching today are well aware of your storied career as a musician, but I don't think there's as much wider recognition as your role that you've taken on in the last few years as the artistic director of Summer Folk and the Owen Sound Folk Festival, which is a legendary event and very important event in the landscape of Canadian folk music.
Yeah.
Um, how was that to put on a digital festival?
It was actually really, really good. It was, I have to say that I was actually moved by it. And like, I'm as cynical as the next guy, or gal, in the music industry, because I've been here a long time. But I really had to wipe back a couple of tears when Greer Coppins piped the festival out down that long, long road, and it just kept going and going and going, and I was going, wow, that is just like exactly what it feels like. And so virtually it was great, but we also had like a lot of really, really good buy-in from the community, right? That there were tons of backyard parties. We were getting tons of photographs from people. People, put up the screen in the backyard, and they'd have their little pod, family pod, watching the thing. And there was just such an amazing kind of community feel to it that it really felt like it brought our community together. And we had like really, really good watch time, and really, people hanging in to watch it, and lots of people watching it. So I thought it was amazing, you know, and to go like, okay, well, we have 2.5 hours to kind of sum up what this thing is like. I'm glad we didn't go for trying to do the whole weekend. I'm glad that we just did this thing that represented what it was. And I believe you can still go see that at video.summerfolk.org, or you can see it on the Summerfolk Facebook page. You do really good.
Excellent, and
Really
that's a good segue to bring Graham into the conversation here a little bit. Graham Lindsey of Wavelength Media, you did the editing and the production for that, and Graham's been working with Home Roots as well, and it seems like you're finding a cool niche, a place to support artists and organizations in this crazy sort of time.
Yeah, exactly. And very much like James, I've found that since March, when we were all told stay home for the benefit of everybody, I have not had a free second, which is, and I realize so many other people have been out of work and they've had the exact opposite. But with me, I've tried to put down whatever work I'm doing. If someone calls and says, "Can you help me?" I've got video streaming questions because I've been doing it since 1998. I can perhaps help somebody out. So that's what I've been trying to do. And that's been the most rewarding part of it for me, being able to just pick up a phone and help somebody get to, not have to Google things for a week, and they can get streaming perhaps right away.
Excellent. Yeah, I know. As a banjo player, I'm not really here to talk about my own music, but even doing this, and figuring out how we're gonna do it. If it was left to the people that are usually writing grants and doing bookings and doing budgets and doing logistics and all the things we do, all of a sudden we just oh my God, we have to go on this route, and it's just been a savior to work with you. So I just like to acknowledge that, and everybody. Graham and I are going to be hosting and moderating the shows on Home Roots Online, so you can rest assured that it will go smoothly because this guy is involved.
He is very good. He's really
good. Guys,
it's
please,
awesome.
Enough of that.
has there so James, have you
no more of your famous false modesty now.
Well,
have you been doing any reading at all?
Yeah. I read tons, but I'm a grazer. It's not like I sort of go into a book and then read it from beginning to end. It's like I've always got several things going on, and sometimes I'm thinking about writing something, and I have to sort of dig back into books that I've read before, or things that I've marked. Like a few years ago, my ex for Christmas got me Mark Twain's autobiography. This is volume 1, and it's like it's an interesting story because Twain, like what everybody has known as the autobiography of Mark Twain, isn't what he wanted. He started compiling this journal that was going to become his biography, and his instructions in his will. Lily walks out of the room every time I start talking about Twain. The instructions in his will were that the whole thing was to be published exactly as written. There was to be no editing. But like this is volume 1. You can imagine what 2 and 3 are going to look like, and So when he died, they just completely ignored the instructions in his will, and they brought out like a readable book. Whereas I think it's at the University of California Press has been working for years on this, and whenever this was, like 7 or 8 years ago, they brought out the first volume of it, and it is like stream of consciousness. It's like reading James Joyce because nothing is connected. There's just like he's in a mood one day and he tells a story from one part of it, or he's in another mood another day, and so he does another thing. There's a section here where he's rented this villa in Italy. He's doing the grand tour, and I believe it's like 50 or 60 pages, and he's just walking through the villa, writing everything about every room in the villa, and it's like, whoa. So, but there's some stories in here that are like real good fodder for songs, or make me think a lot about songs. And actually, there's like this is part of a longer tale about something that happened to him when he was 14. Getting caught, he was rehearsing for a play, and he got caught by some girls who saw him doing the rehearsing, and it was all very embarrassing. But none of the rest of the school ever ended up knowing about it, which meant that those 2 girls kept their mouths shut, like for all time, about what was going on, and then he ends up in Goa, in India. He's on a speaking tour, and he's in his 60s, and he's walking into this hotel, and walking out of the hotel is one of these girls, right? But not the age he is. It's the 14-year-old version of, and he's just totally rocked. And then she looks at him and says, "Mr. Clemens, my grandmother will be so glad that you're here," and then takes him upstairs to the room where the actual girl, who is now in her 60s as well, and him have this talk. And he'd he'd had a total crush on her, and it's just like the most amazing story. Like one of the things he says in here is that we think boys are rude, unsensitive animals, but it's not so in all cases. Each boy has one or two sensitive spots, and if you can find out where they are located, you only have to touch them, and you can scorch them as with fire. And I suffered miserably over that episode. So he writes like, he's able to capture himself as a 14-year-old kid. Anyway, it's just like the most amazing thing. So I like jump into something like this to dig around and find stories and turns of phrase that are going to inspire me and stuff like that. So yeah, there's that. And then for my World War I guy, one of the greatest things about being on the road, the food, sure. The bookstores. The world is full of bookstores, and they don't have all the same books that you have here. And so on my last trip, my sort of last kind of solo trip in January, I was playing all these gigs in Florida and found this bookshop called Haslam's that had an amazing World War I section, a whole bunch of stuff that I'd never seen before, including this one about General Haig. So that's like my total. This is like candy for me. So nobody else would like it.
So
yeah, I do.
Lots of inspiration for writing these days, I would say.
Yeah, what I love to find are historians that are storytellers, right? Like some historians just boldly recite facts, and it's like, oh. But you find historians that are actual, like, amazing storytellers, as this Dennis Winters is. Like Simon Schama.
Oh wow!
This book about the French Revolution is one of the best books that I've ever read of any kind, because it has narrative, right? He's telling a story, and he wants you to know as much about the story as he can. Barbara Tuchman, Guns of August. Anyway, I could go on and on.
Well, your songs are I would say are known for narrating a story. Typically, they're not. When I think of your songs, I would also say that is true. Any plans for any recording coming up soon?
Yeah, hopefully November. I've got the majority of the CD written. I need like another 4 or 5, and I'm just at that. I've got this really annoying. One of my many annoying habits is that it takes me a long time to sort of land on a story if I figure that the piece of music that I have is going to be a story song.
Yeah.
Then it takes a while for the story to find the song. And it's so I have things like like I'll have a little piece of sort of melody and chord that would go like, right, and you're sitting there going, well. And then, like, I've even got sort of a melody that goes on top of it. This sort of, except that I'm playing it up here, I think. So it's got like everything's there. It's like the chord, the melody. There's even a little bridge happens later on, and it's all there. But I sit there and I go, like, what is that song? What's that? About? So for me, like really lately, for a whole bunch of a whole bunch of the past 10 years, I've been all about sort of rhythm and groove and chord structure and melody, and the words are just like the hardest thing. I just need a spark. If somebody goes, that sounds like, it's about a truck full of, you know, something being transported across the Mexican border. Anyway, then I can sort of go with it. Although I think this week I found the story that goes with that song, but I can't let it out yet.
Well, you heard it, a little bit of it here first, folks. Well, that's excellent. Would you be willing to play us an entire number?
No.
All
Okay.
right, folks.
No,
See you later.
Sure.
Great.
Sure. This is like I've done 2 stretches at the Celtic Colors Festival in the writer's house. Like the first year they did it, the first year Joella did it, and it was me and Kieran Polwart,
Oh, wow.
Laurie Watson, Dave Gunning, David Francie, amazing. And Kareen was very much the Rose Cousins also. Sorry. Yeah. And Kareen was sort of the organizer. She like set out the rota and everything else, and it was just amazing to see. And the next time I did it was me, Bruce Guthrow, J.D. Edwards, and Kara Luft, who are both doing shows coming up here. Bruce Guthrow, J.D., Kara, Kathleen McClellan. Yeah, I think that was it. And but they made me the den mother that time, so it was like. It was really cool, but I got so many great songs out of both those things, and largely because I was walking into a room going, "Oh, I've got," and then some other brighter spark would go, "Hey, you know that one." Anyway, this is one I wrote with Catherine McClellan.
Sweet.
At Celtic Colors, and I'll be playing Celtic Colors later on this month too, but. And again, this was basically just me walking in with this sort of riff that I was playing that was like and they go, well, what does that sound like to you? This is what it sounded like.
Ruby.
Try that again. Sometimes you're feeling tired, many days you feel all alone, but on the streets there are people marching. Pick yourself up and come along. Walk on, better days are coming. Walk on, you don't have to walk alone. Walk on for the things you believe in. Keep on walking till we don't let go. One step forward and 2 steps back. Many days, that's how it goes. But now I'm talking about a new tomorrow. Stand up, buddy, let's hit the road. Walk on, better days are coming. Walk on, you don't have to walk alone. Walk on for the things you believe in. Keep on walking till we all get home. You wanna rise, but you're feel held down. You wanna move, but you're stuck in place. I know it's dark and it's getting darker. Stand up, sister, pick up the pace. Walk on, better days are coming. Walk on, you don't have to walk alone. Walk on for the things you believe in. Keep on walking till we all get home. Keep on walking till we all get home. Keep on walking till we all get home.
Thank you so much, James, for
Yeah.
singing that, and thank you so much for joining us here, and Graham as well, to this first sort of episode of Home Roots Online Artist Spotlight. And I would like to recap and just tell folks to check out our Home Roots website, which is www.homeroots.ca. Of course, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, and also James's website. And we're selling lots of tickets, and they're going fast, folks. So please join us on October 6th at 2 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. UK, 9 p.m. EU. That's again on the 6th of October, and then the 7th of October at 6 a.m. Central or 9 p.m. in Australia. And yeah, look forward to seeing you all there. And thanks again, James, for being here. And thank you to Graham and all of you. We'll see you next time.
Cheers.